What is up, guys? Lone Wolf here. Today patch 10.0.7 dropped, and now more than ever we need to tighten up our gameplay and finish those personal goals we've set for ourselves so we can finish the season strong. Patch 10.1 is going to end Dragonflight Season 1, and that's going to be dropping in about 2.5 months, so that's the amount of time we have left to grind this season. I'm going to give you guys 5 tips that could help you reach 2400 in solo shuffle on any of the classes you play. I guarantee that if you follow these tips tried and true, you'll see at least 150 to 200 points increase in your rating. And we're going to start with my favorite tip on the list, having 2 characters to climb the ladder with. Now, there's a lot of benefits to having 2 characters while you climb in solo shuffle. And yes, it's easier for healers to do this, but I have a friend who does this on his warlocks, and he's seeing a lot of success with this method. Let's say you have character 1 and character 2, and we start at 1600. You'll get character 1 to 1700, then go back to character 2 and get that tune to 1800, then go back to character 1 and get that tune to 1900, and so on and so forth. Doing this keeps you sharp in between the brackets as you consistently climb up in rating. Having 2 characters also helps you mitigate the feeling of loss if you had a bad queue session, and we all have those eventually. I myself have experienced ranked anxiety and avoided queuing up because I didn't want to lose all the progress I worked really hard to gain. Having a second tune cuts this problem out directly, because if you had a bad queue session and lost a lot of points, you still have your other tune with the highest rating unaffected by the losses. Now, instead of being burnt out and upset over a bad queue session, you have something to look forward to, having the chance to beat your current best rating and learning how to be a better player along the way. All the while, you're not risking anything because you have your character with high rating tucked away, and you won't play that character until you pass its current rating, and then you'll switch. Leveling and gearing in Dragonflight is relatively easy this time around, so if you have extra time, I highly recommend that you level and gear another tune of the same class and spec that you're going to play, and just see how good this tip really is for helping you climb the ladder. Let's get into my second tip. Always blame yourself for a loss. What could you have done better to help yourself win? Am I saying every loss is your fault? No. Am I saying you can win every game if you play perfect? Absolutely not. What I am saying, though, is if you could get as close as you can to perfect play, you will increase your overall win rate, thus giving you a higher rating in solo shuffles. The bottom line is your teammates are gonna let you down, and that's not your fault. We need to worry about the things we can control, and that's our characters and our gameplay. Let's say there's a warrior on your team that's making a game-changing mistake, and he's running behind a pillar, and he's gonna get stunned, and he's gonna die, and you notice this. You could either let him go back there, get stunned and die, and then complain about it and lose your rating, or you could realize that you have no control of what the warrior is going to do, but you can try to set him up for the highest success rate, so that way you could win the round. So let's say you notice him going to charge in behind a pillar, you pre-sack him, and then you angle yourself so you could still heal him while he's back there at a 40-yard distance. And now you're healing this guy, he's pre-sacked, so you're not getting CC'd, and who knows, maybe he gets stunned back there with Hodge, you dispel it, and then he stormbolts the healer or something, and you get a win somehow. But that is the better alternative than to losing the round, which would be winning and maximizing your play. Another thing I like to do is review my VODs. Watching my VODs is important to me because it helps me realize the mistakes I made during the game when I wasn't realizing them while I was playing the game. A lot of the times I know when I'm making a mistake in a game and I'll readjust to fix it, but I'm human, I still make mistakes, and I catch these mistakes that I miss by rewatching my VODs. So for example, I thought getting a CC on this druid would be very game-changing, and I ended up wasting so much time chasing this druid, and I only realized this after watching my VODs, and it gave me a little bit more insight on what to do next time I fight Ret Pally Warrior Druid. So take a look at this. I'm like wasting a lot of time trying to get him. He innervates. Like, look at, I'm just blood hungry for this, like bloodthirsty for this CC. But yeah, I realized I wasted a lot of time on that druid when I could have just been hitting the melee DPS, creating more pressure until a better opportunity to hit that guy with CC was presented. Think of it like this. There is no benefit to blaming your teammates and highlighting their mistakes. There is benefits, however, to noticing your personal mistakes in matches and trying to avoid those same mistakes in future games. I promise you will see a shift in your matches and win more rounds if you just look inward at yourself, compared to outwards towards your teammates. My third tip is going to be, do not engage in the match chat unless it is about the strategy of the game, period. The moment you start being toxic towards your teammates is the moment you lose the game. For lack of a better word, the only thing non-match related chat will do is piss you or your teammates off, and nobody plays better under tilt. I was doing some solos and had a pretty bad set of rounds, but me and the Warrior experienced the brunt of the losses. Throughout the game, the Warrior would flame multiple people while on my team, and I just brushed it off. People get mad, I get it. After going 2-6, I was irritated to say the least. That's when the Warrior hit me with the classic whisper, "How much was your boost, bro?" At this point, I should have just blocked this guy and moved on, but instead I queued into a solo, got an instant queue, and began arguing with the Warrior. What happens next is crazy. Throughout my new solo, we verbally assaulted each other, bringing up all the mistakes we both made in the previous games. But that's not the craziest part though. To me, the craziest thing was I stopped at points in my new solo to argue back with this guy, and even lost rounds over it. Let that sink in. I stopped playing at points in my new ranked game to argue with an internet stranger. Unfortunately for me, this didn't sink in until I was 1-6 in my new solo, and I realized this guy just cost me not 4 rounds, but 9. I could have avoided this whole situation if I just blocked that guy off rip. These guys are not worth your time, and they're just going to be more detrimental than they are positive to your rating and your gameplay, so please, please, please do not make the same mistake I did in the past. Just block these guys. It's super easy, and it actually pisses them off more when they don't get what they want. This is going to lead into my next tip, which is do not play when you're tilted and know when to walk away. At the end of the day, guys, you can't queue into solo shuffle when you're tilted because it's going to bleed into your gameplay, it's going to bleed into your teammates, and it's going to net you more losses than victories. The moment I notice I'm getting irritated or I start getting tilted in my games, I'll just stop playing ranked. So I know that me being irrational will lose me more points than me coming into the games with a clear, solid head and a game plan. So to decompress myself, what I like to do is I'll either go for a run, sometimes I'll play guitar. If I want to keep playing WoW, I'll just log onto an alt and do random threes, or sometimes I'll even get on the alt paladin and just do solo shuffles on the alt. That way I don't lose anything because I still have it all on my main paladin, but I still want to play. However you decide to detail is up to you. Just be honest with yourself and get better at knowing when you're tilted. It does you no service when you have a really good week in solos and then you get super mad and you rage queue for 3 hours and you just throw all your rating down the drain simply because you were mad. Like, is that a good reason to throw all your positive progress down the drain? I don't think so. And my final and most important tip is pat yourself on the back, man. This game is not easy and you should be proud of yourself. And I'm proud of you, no matter how big or small the progress is that you've made. Do not beat yourself up, guys. You should revel in your accomplishments and be proud of the progress you've made as a World of Warcraft arena player. Let's say you just hit 1600 and you're walking around feeling pretty good about yourself and a guy in a glad mount whips on by. And all of a sudden, you start feeling pretty bad about yourself and you're like, man, I suck at this game. I'm not a glad. I'll never be a glad. I never want you to look at the game like that. You should look at where you were and compare it to where you are now. So if you are a 1600 now and maybe you started at 1K, you should look at the distance that you've climbed in order to reach this new high of gameplay. And it only goes up from there, guys. And honestly, I struggle with this too because I'm not where I want to be as a player yet either. I always have to remind myself of where I started, which was a little paladin that couldn't even arena 1-2-3 hodge anything to save his life. And when I look at the distance I've traveled, when I look down and see that huge distance I've traveled to where I am now, it just puts a smile on my face every single time. And I hope that you guys can do the same for yourselves. That's going to be my 5 tips to improve your solo shuffle rating. I want to say thank you to everyone who has watched this video and has gotten this far. I just want to quickly remind you guys, I do stream over on Twitch. I'll leave a link to my stream in the description down below. I'm live 6:30 p.m. CST Monday through Friday. Love for you guys to come hang out and see me. We always have a great time on stream. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the video, and thank you so very much for watching. Till next time, take it easy.